The following podcast is a Dear Media production.
You know I've tried everything.
What would you tell them to ask for?
Let me ask you this. And please be honest, this is the podcast to do it.
I love it. That's an amazing tip.
It's so wild. My last and final question, it's a yes or no answer. Do you get the fuck out of the sun?
I want it all.
Hello. Today is a big day because not only do I have Ariel Laurie on Get the Fuck Out of the Sun, where we talk everything from plastic surgery, transparency on social media, fat transfers, Botox, fillers, breakouts, her makeup routine, and more. Also, it happens to be a launch day, a huge fucking launch day. That is right. The Skinny Confidential has teamed up with Canopy. You guys, I am so excited about this. Little backstory. Canopy is a humidifier company. And here's the deal. I have been talking about humidifiers and the benefits for your skin for the last 7 years. It's been all over my blog. It's been in my book, Instagram story, Instagram. I am so about a humidifier, especially for all the skin benefits. So about 1.5 years ago, I started talking with Canopy and I was telling them how all humidifiers looked like a crusty butthole eyesore. And they were like, Lauren, let's create a co-brand. Our humidifiers are so aesthetically pleasing. You know what you like. You have your brand. Let's make a pink, dreamy, flirty humidifier. So enter the Skinny Confidential times Canopy humidifier. It launches today. And here's the deal. Once it's gone, it's gone. This is like a collector's Skinny Confidential item that every girl should have on your nightstand, okay? Everyone should have this for their skin. There's other benefits that we're going to go over. But if you are obsessed with skin, and I'm thinking you are if you're listening to this podcast, then you need this humidifier, okay? It's going to give you that plump, bouncy skin. It just moisturizes you in all the right ways. I first discovered humidifiers when I was little, and my mom just would not shut up about them. And then I moved to LA and my skin was just lackluster. I was not feeling it. So I bought this shitty eyesore humidifier for the side of my bed. And even though it was so ugly, it still worked when it came to hydrating my skin. So I would turn it on at night and in the morning, and my skin would just feel so much better. And then I started talking with the Canopy team and I saw how they were really disrupting the space. Their humidifiers have no mold. So a lot of humidifiers collect mold. Theirs do not. And Canopy humidifiers have this antimicrobial filter that catches irritating minerals, bacteria, and other nasty shit from the water before it's even evaporated into your home. So that's a huge, huge plus. And diving a little bit more into the mold thing, because that really grossed me out, I found out that Canopy humidifier uses this unique technology that keeps the humidifier running until there's no water left inside the unit. So no water left inside means no mold. And this one also doesn't mist because that is essentially what causes the mold. So it's very, very unique. And the Skinny Confidential times Canopy parts go right into the dishwasher. So it's so easy to wash. And they also have these built-in little aroma diffusers that uses the simple, healthy process of evaporation to fill your room with a scented moisture. So I worked with them to design every single part of this humidifier. I wanted you to want it out. I did not want you to have to put it underneath your sink with your curling iron. I wanted it to sit on your bedside, proud, next to your ice roller and your oil and your sleep mask. And I wanted you to be like, holy shit, this is the cutest humidifier I've ever seen. I also wanted the aromas to reflect the Skinny Confidential. So I bugged Canopy and I said, hey, can we do custom aromas? And of course they were game. And we went back and forth for the last 1.5 years where I did tons of sniff tests. And finally we came up with the 3 scents. And the first one is grapefruit spritz. So that's going to be like a grapefruit lemon oil. Super refreshing, like your summer cocktail without the hangover. Then we have Palmberry. And I wanted to do Palmberry because we have our Skinny Confidential Ice Queen oil, which is pomegranate and raspberry. So I wanted to pull the brand sort of through to the humidifier. This one's a little bit more sweet and delicious, kind of like a sherbet with a little bit of sprinkle of pomegranate seeds on top. And then lastly, and this happens to be my favorite because I'm a sucker for nostalgia, is Pink Taffy. And this is like your good old-fashioned local candy shop, smells like Disneyland. It has red berries and fig, and it's like fresh saltwater taffy is being pulled right in your home. Honestly, all the aromas are a dream. You're going to love them. But I'm so excited for you to see the humidifier in person because it is absolutely the cutest one I've ever seen on the market. And I just wanted to update the space. So I did that with Canopy. Of course, all their aroma oils are vegan, cruelty-free, no parabens, no sulfates, no mineral oils, no synthetic dyes. This brand cares about the consumer. And that's why I wanted to do a co-brand with them. So I could not be more excited to announce the Skinny Confidential times Canopy humidifier. It is available now. Like I said, I would get it now. We anticipate that it could sell out in a week. So here's the deal. You can subscribe and save $25 when you sign up for the Canopy Filter and Aroma subscription. Plus, you get all 3 exclusive aromas and an extra 10% off discount code when you use the code PINKGLOW. All caps, Pink Glow. You are going to go to Get Canopy, that's GETCANOPY.co, and use code Pink Glow. Super easy, 10% off. I am telling you, you guys, I have one in my office, one by my bedside. I put one in Zaz's room. You are going to want this humidifier. It's such a fucking cute gift for the holidays too, especially if you have a friend that loves pink. On that note, and someone else who loves pink, Arielle Laurie of the Blonde Files podcast, which also happens to be on Dear Media. I've been on her podcast twice. You have to listen to our episodes. It's so fun. To give you a little bit of background, this episode, like I said, goes everywhere. The reason I am a fan of Arielle is because she tells it how it is. She's one of the most transparent influencers out there when it comes to beauty treatments and procedures that she's had done. I think that she has opened up so much about recovery and sobriety and her marriage and just her life that she's very comfortable and authentic in telling it how it is. And I really find that refreshing in this space. Her and I got along like this. We met and we just liked each other right away. I find her to be a very compelling, charismatic person. And I specifically wanted her on this podcast. She was one of the first people I thought of. The way she filled out her questionnaire when she was in the book, Get the Fuck Out of the Sun, I wanted to know more. So I texted her. I said, come on the podcast, but bring your cookies. She has the best fucking cookies. Go Google the crowd pleaser cookies, the Blonde Files. You will not be sorry. She is also one of the most well-versed, knowledgeable beauty influencers out there. She went from treating her body like a dumpster, that's her quote, baking in a tanning booth, never sleeping, drinking all day long, and smoking a pack a day. But after she hit rock bottom and almost losing her battle against addiction, she decided to turn her life around by relentlessly pursuing health and happiness. She found her passion in being a creator. You can tell that from her Instagram and blog. Like I said, her blog and podcast is called The Blonde Files, where she covers everything from fitness to fashion to wellness. She has interviewed the coolest people in the space, and this interview was absolutely amazing. You are going to learn about Botox appointments, her biggest beauty regret, to how the doctor chooses where to pull fat from a fat transfer. I had a lot of questions about that, okay? We talk about whether celebrities and influencers should be more transparent about whether or not they've had work done, PRP facials, microneedling, and wellness habits to incorporate in your everyday routine. This episode packs value. I hope you love it. With that, let's welcome Arielle Laurie to the Get the Fuck Out of the Sun limited series podcast.
I am so excited to have you in studio because the last podcast episode that we did on the Skinny Confidential, him and her podcast, was kind of just your journey. But I had so many more questions, but I don't want Michael's eyeballs to roll to the back of his head. Today, we're going to talk about skin, Botox, filler, treatments, I'll share some of the stuff I like. I know you're very versed in it as well. You look amazing. You're glowy. I guess first, just give everyone a quick intro. I'm sure everyone already knows you, but just introduce yourself. Tell us about your podcast, everything.
So obviously, my name is Arielle Laurie. I am the host of the Blonde Files podcast, which is here on Dear Media. And I talk about kind of all things wellness, but I like to say that I do it without a lot of the bullshit. I'm very honest about everything that I've done. I have real experts on, doctors, scientists, beauty gurus, everything. And we talk about everything from physical health to mental health to a lot of beauty. I'm very open about procedures and everything that I've done to my face. So I have my doctors on and we just really get into the nitty gritty with it. And then I also have my blog, theblondefiles.com, and my Instagram.
And you make the best fucking cookies I have ever had. First of all, I just have to shout this out. I know this is about skin, but I have to tell you this. I met you at Alexis's house after recording Recovering from Reality, and you gave me these cookies and they were like so good. I couldn't believe it. And then you did a collab with Nowhere Bakery that sold out. I've checked the site 40 times. My daughter's like screaming cookie. And they sold out so good. I ate them in bed in the dark.
Those were amazing. Unfortunately, the collaboration is over. We're not going to bring it back, but I do have the recipes, so I can send it to you if you want to make them. It's pretty easy. Yeah, I also do a lot of like healthy recipes as well, which I have on my Instagram. That's kind of my forte.
I tried to make them. It doesn't taste the same as when you make them.
I'll make them and I'll send them to you.
But like I text you, I'm like, am I going to gain weight from this because I ate 15?
No, so I came up with a theory. I was talking to my friend about it, and actually my surgeon who does a lot of the stuff on my face, and he was like, bro, I'm eating like 5 of these a day. What's going to happen? I'm like, okay, so it's probably about 350 calories per cookie, but it's also grain free. So I'm like, deduct 50 calories for that. And I made up this whole thing in my head that makes no sense, but I was like, it evens out. It's like pretty much no calories. So
okay.
It's not actually, but it's all good for you.
I'm just going to say that it helps me go to the bathroom when there's fiber in it.
Really?
So it's okay. No, I'm just making that up to make myself feel better.
It's like interesting. Well, yeah, there is fiber. There's protein from nut butter.
Okay.
I think. There's some nutrients in there.
I'd way rather have Zaza eat those than the other crappy cookies that she tries to reach for, like no famous Amos.
Yeah. No, these are like 5 ingredients, very clean.
Okay. And they're called the Crowd Pleaser cookie.
No, so that one is the BFCE, the best effing cookie ever.
Okay.
And it's a recipe that I came up with like over the winter. I was visiting my parents and I just came up with it. And then I ended up talking to Safira at Nowhere Bakery, and she was like, let's do a collab on this. And so then she remixed it 3 different ways. So it's like an oatmeal, a brookie, and a chocolate chip. And that was
so good
collaboration, but it's over. So people are like, why are you telling me?
I've checked the site like every day. It's embarrassing. So tell us the first procedure or treatment that you have done that you can remember. So like my first one, if I'm looking back, I think was Botox. I remember being 21 and looking in the rearview mirror and seeing a number 11. And it was very, very taboo at the time for me to get Botox. That was very, very weird. But I went and did my research and found someone, shout out to Dr. Gwendolyn in Rancho Santa Fe. And I just remember the procedure very vividly. Is there anything that you remember doing for the first time like that?
Yeah, so I remember where I was, what I was wearing, everything when I got my first procedure. So I also got Botox to begin with. I shared on the other podcast that we did that I got sober like late in my 20s. And everything prior to that, I had been treating my body like a dumpster. I was baking myself in the sun like twice a day in the tanning booth. No sunscreen ever in my life. I don't think I wore sunscreen till I was like 28.
And your skin is so beautiful and fair.
Thank you. Yes.
And you baked in the tanning bed twice a day.
Yes. And I would get like dark brown. I mean, it was crazy. I see old pictures of myself and it's crazy. You would never think that I could get that tan, but I did. And so when I finally got sober, I remember I was at the pool with my ex-boyfriend and we took a selfie or something. And I looked at my face and I was like, who is this person? I mean, I had also been smoking a pack a day, never sleeping, doing drugs and drinking all the time. So I was like living really hard. And my forehead looked like a Shar-Pei. Like, I'm not kidding. It was crazy. I was so weathered. And so I went to a dermatologist for a skin check, actually, to make sure that I didn't give myself melanoma or something during all of my tanning. And they were like, do you want to do some Botox? And at the time, it was still pretty taboo. It was like 8 years ago, 7.5, 8 years ago. And nobody that I knew was doing it, but I did the Botox and it like smoothed everything out on my forehead. And so that was my first taste.
Okay, so why do you think that influencers and celebrities are so hesitant to open up about all these things? Like when someone says they use olive oil, that sets me over the edge. I mean, to each its own if that's what you want to say, but just do people really think that the audience is that stupid?
I don't know. And I think that's part of what is kind of insulting about it. I mean, I feel like everyone is entitled to their privacy. And I have this debate with people on my podcast all the time. Like, what's better? You know, take Bella Hadid, for example. If she said, you know what? Yeah, I allegedly did all these procedures on my face. Would her young fans then want to go do all of those procedures? And is that more harmful than lying about it? I'm not sure what the right answer is, but I think the only thing that I can think of why people don't want to share it is that maybe they feel like it would detract from their beauty if other people knew that they had help.
It's so interesting because I find people more beautiful when they're honest.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not saying that she needs to give me a breakdown of like what she did, although that would be like, that'd be nice.
I can give you the breakdown.
Yeah, like I'd love a breakdown. But if I can't get a breakdown, at least say, listen, I've had work done. You know, this is part of the career that I'm in. And if you're young, just know that this is not something that I just woke up with. I think that there's a way to like finesse the conversation as opposed to saying that we've never done Botox and that we've used olive oil. I mean, that was wild.
I agree. And I think like the Kylie Jenner posting her second workout of the day, you know, when it's like, you had surgery, allegedly, you know? I mean, I had a plastic surgeon on my podcast yesterday who does BBL and liposuction, and he said, you cannot get a surgical result without surgery. So like full stop, period. So I think that can be really damaging because the younger followers think, okay, like maybe if I work out twice a day and do whatever measures they take, then I'm going to look like Kylie Jenner. And it's like, no, you're not. But yeah, I think that kind of the happy medium would maybe be saying it takes a lot of work to look like this and I have help.
100%. And that's why I find you so refreshing. And your content, I really like it. I seek it out. I think that sometimes, you know, you'll either mute someone that you don't like. I'm always like looking for your content. I love your what I eat in the day. I find you very refreshing and different than, you know, what everyone else has done. I want you to tell me your absolute favorite procedure that you've ever had done and why. And then I also would love for you to tell me your biggest nightmare procedure. And I have a feeling you're going to say threads.
Hold up. We are going to do what we do best and talk about skin, specifically sunscreen. And it should not fucking surprise you for 1 second that I'm going to tell you about Dr. Dennis Gross's All Physical Lightweight Wrinkle Defense SPF 30. It's PA++++, and it's truly a lightweight, super lightweight, broad spectrum UVA/UVB sunscreen without the harsh chemical filters. He is so major. He's a practicing dermatologist and he sees sun care as the most important part of a skincare routine. He has been around all different kinds of skin cancer and he knows the benefits of getting the fuck out of the sun and using sun protection. His sunscreen's amazing, you guys, because it's really lightweight. There's nothing worse than when you put some heavy, thick, greasy sunscreen on your face, especially when you're doing makeup. I can't stand that. And that's why I appreciate his non-greasy finish. This one's reef safe and it's fragrance free. Like I said, it's PA++++ certified. There's absolutely no white cast. And it's going to protect you while you're driving, walking outside, pumping gas, doing all these little things that we do. You still need sunscreen, which is why I love his All Physical Lightweight Wrinkle Defense SPF. Another thing you should know that I love about him, he tests across all different skin types, tones, and ages, which is so, so great. He has given you a code, and this is not just any code. It's 20% off site-wide. This excludes bundles, devices, and gift cards, but you can shop anything else. I would check out the light mask, the oil-free moisturizer, the vitamin C serum. You can't go wrong with his products. You're going to use code SUN, like I said, for 20% off site-wide. You're going to use code SUN for 20% off site-wide, like I said, at drdennisgross.com. That's drdennisgross.com, code SUN for 20% off site-wide.
Threads is 100% my biggest nightmare. At the same time, I'm glad that I tried it. I'm the type of person where like I have to try something to find out whether it works for me or not. I can't really take other people's anecdotal experience. Threads was kind of a nightmare. I mean, just getting them to begin with is very traumatizing. And I've had surgical procedures like brow lift. I had a lip lift. I had a rhinoplasty. This is like all over the course of almost the last decade. And I just find it better to do a surgery where you're getting a lasting result and like you're going to be put out for it. I mean, getting the threads shoved into your cheeks and then not being able to move your face for a few weeks. And I had one pop out and then you're super swollen. And then after like 3 weeks, there's barely any difference. So you kind of go through all of that and it's very expensive and you need to maintain it regularly. Like it's just not worth it. My favorite procedure, like surgical wise, I just got fat transfer, which I haven't really talked about yet. You know, because I texted you afterwards. And that for me was such a game changer. I think just because of where I am in my life. So I'm mid-30s. Around the age of like 32, we start losing elasticity and collagen in our skin and volume, and we lose like bone density, all of that. And just this last year, especially, I noticed I just was looking like kind of gaunt for me compared to how I used to look like in my 20s. And so we took a little bit of fat from my stomach, not enough to make any kind of difference.
Where's the fat from your stomach coming from? You have no fat in your stomach.
That's what my doctor said too. And I was like, you're going to be pleasantly surprised when I come in.
So he sucks it from the bottom, the side. Where are you sucking it from? The stomach?
Goes in through the belly button.
Okay.
And then takes it from the bottom. But it's like such a small amount that it's not like getting liposuction or anything.
Okay.
I was like, feel free to take anything that you want, like take it all. And he's like, no, it's not really how that works. But they take it through the belly button. Sometimes they do like inner or lateral thigh. It just kind of depends on where your body holds fat. And then they spin it down. They take all of the inflammatory markers out, all of that. And then they put it into your face. And I did my cheeks, my under eyes, and my temples, just the areas where we lose volume first. And you would never know that I did anything.
No, I can't
until
see
I come on this podcast.
One thing, there's not one scar. You just look youthful and pretty.
Thank you. Yeah, they just do it through a needle in your face, so there's no scarring. And it just kind of restored the volume to my face. And that's what makes us look older. And that's what makes us look like we're aging, is losing volume and losing elasticity and all of that. And like, of course, like my doctor who did that, who's also a friend of mine, says like the conveyor belt of time doesn't stop, but you can do things to kind of slow it down a little and look your best while you're on that conveyor belt. You know, we're going to age no matter what. And I'm not going to try and pull my face back and have no wrinkles and all of that for the rest of my life. But I just want to kind of look on the outside as good as I feel on the inside. And I feel like the fat transfer really helped with that.
So you can get fat transfer from any area of your body, which is what a BBL is, correct?
Yeah. So a BBL, they use way more fat, obviously. I think the doctor I had on yesterday said like 600 or 700 cc's. So they're taking it from the stomach, from the arms, from the thighs, wherever they can get it, depending on your BMI and your body type and all of that. It has to be healthy fat. So I think my doctor did try going in my thighs and like he either couldn't get it or the quality of the fat was not good. But my stomach had like golden yellow fat, which is healthy fat, which is what you want. And I was like, is it all the salmon that I eat? And he said, yes.
No way.
Yeah.
I need to
it's
eat
like
more
all
salmon.
the healthy fats, I think. So you have to have like a good quality of fat to get the best result.
Is it the salmon that I eat? That's amazing.
He was like, I hate you. And yes. So yeah, they can harvest it from pretty much anywhere, I think. And the doctor yesterday, not to keep referencing him, but I learned a lot in that episode. And he said, like, even if you are very petite, you can still get fat pretty much on anyone. You know, he does liposuction and BBL on fitness models. And that kind of brings another issue into play. Like if you're competing and you're doing these enhancements, like, is that ethical? Or if you're just an influencer, if you're a fitness influencer and you have a BBL and you have lipo and you're selling your fitness program or whatever you're selling on Instagram, like, is that ethical? It's an interesting debate.
It's hard. I mean, I see the struggle, but I think that there's like a fine line to be able, like I said, to just be like, I have done treatments. And it's not, I think when people say it's olive oil, that's soap, I almost would rather you say nothing.
Right. Well, and again, that example, she's selling a product. So I think, I mean, it's hard for me to like believe that other people actually believe that, you know, because then that is really just thinking that the people who buy your products, that follow you, are stupid.
Right. And that's where it hits a nerve for me, because it's like, I think people have a very good BS meter. I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't feel like you're fooling anyone. I want to know recovery. How was the recovery for the fat transfer on the face? Like, I almost want to say, because I've had my boobs done twice, it wasn't bad, or maybe I just don't remember it.
I think having gone through multiple procedures, you kind of forget after a week. I mean, the first 4 days are always pretty brutal, no matter how minor the surgery. And days like 2 to 4 in particular is when the swelling peaks. So like day 2, 3, and 4, you're kind of just thinking, what have I done? And then around day 5, things start getting better. By day 7, you might still look a little funny, but you feel fine. And then it's like you forget. I remember when I did my nose, I felt like it was the worst recovery. I was so uncomfortable. It wasn't painful, but just not being able to breathe. I just really didn't expect that. I don't know why. I was really naive. And I remember thinking, like, I will never have another surgery again. This is horrible. And then, of course, like a couple years later, I did. With the fat transfer, it's really not bad because they're not cutting things open. They're not really like doing any kind of deconstruction or anything inside your face. They're really just doing the lipo through the stomach and then injecting it through a needle. So I was very swollen. I can't remember when I texted you. I think it was probably the next day.
You texted me ice rolling. You looked like you looked beautiful. You didn't like, it wasn't like a normal facelift recovery. Not that you got a facelift, but I'm just saying it wasn't like a, you know how sometimes they're like wrapped in all this like weird stuff. You just looked plump and glowy.
Yeah. So the first day I was kind of freaking out, the first couple of days actually, and then I started getting used to it. And you also have diffuse swelling. So whenever you get a procedure, your whole face kind of swells, and that erases every wrinkle and everything. So you look like you're 12 years old. You look like a baby. And so I started getting used to it. I liked it. And then with the fat transfer, what happens is you're very swollen and then all of the swelling goes away. So then it looked like nothing happened. And I was like freaking out that I wanted more. And my doctor reassured me that with fat transfer, you're just fluctuating for a long time. And the best thing about it was that I had to feed the fat for the first month. So like overeat by about 15 to 20%. So I was like going crazy with my cookies and pasta and like feeding the fat. That was my excuse. I was still doing it after a few months. And he's like, no, it's not. You're not feeding the fat anymore. You're just...
So when you eat more, it feeds the fat to live more?
I don't really know like the mechanism behind it, but I do know that when they put it into your face, if they take fat from one place and then put it somewhere else in your body, there's no blood supply there initially. So you're going to have some die off right off the bat. And then it's going to start establishing a blood supply, neovascularization, I think it's called. And then you just want to make sure that you're not losing any weight, because if you lose weight, then you're risking not retaining all of that fat. So I tried to gain a little bit of weight in the first month or so. And I think I retained a good amount. I think I'm probably around like 70% of where we started.
What is worse, or maybe not worse, the brow lift or the lip lift?
Brow lift by 1,000,000%.
Would they just pull the brows? Can you explain it to the audience exactly what they do?
So there are different types of brow lifts. I got an endoscopic brow lift. I'm not sure if it was lateral or temporal, but they go in through your hairline essentially, like usually 2 or 3 incisions, like tiny incisions. And they go in with a scope and they kind of detach your forehead and then they lift it up.
How come I don't see any scars on anything?
The scars, well, I don't really have any. They're probably tiny little ones in my hairline that you would never see.
So when you saw yourself in the mirror after the brow lift, did you like it right away?
All right, we're back just talking about my favorite multivitamin. That is Ritual. You can't go wrong with Ritual. There's so many amazing benefits of Ritual's Essential for Women 18 plus multivitamin. First of all, it was formulated by exhaustive research. And I know this because I got to speak with the founder and she told me about how it really helps fill in nutrient gaps in the diets of women 18 plus. I've been using Ritual for the last 3 years. And I have to tell you, it is by far my favorite multivitamin. I have it right next to my tongue scraper and my toothbrush. So when I wake up in the morning, I scrape my tongue, then I take my Ritual, and then I brush my teeth and I'm good to go. So many vitamins taste chalky and lumbering and gross and they get stuck in your throat. Not with Ritual. It's non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and it has a lot of vitamin D in it, which we need, especially right now. So check out their vitamin D levels, check out their omega-3 DHA levels. They have it all. They cover everything. Last time when I was in San Diego and I went home for the weekend, I brought Ritual to my stepmom and my sister. They're absolutely obsessed. If you're pregnant, if you're postpartum, you got to check out their site because they're just very much committed to vitamins formulated for women by women, which I love. Right now, Ritual is offering all Get the Fuck Out of the Sun listeners 10% off your first 3 months. You are going to visit ritual.sun and turn healthy habits into a ritual. That's 10% off at ritual.com/sun. You have to check them out.
I did because I had very hooded eyes before, which never bothered me until, again, I turned like 30, 31, 32, somewhere around there. And it started kind of drooping to the point where I looked tired all the time. I felt like I looked in the mirror and I looked sad, and that wasn't how I felt inside. And again, it's a procedure that, if done correctly, is so subtle. It just kind of refreshes you and wakes you up. The thing with a brow lift, though, is that they kind of have to overshoot the mark a little bit initially because your brow is going to fall and settle a little bit. So some people feel like they look so different or they look kind of crazy initially. I was just so happy to not have hooding anymore and to be able to see my eyes, and my eyes looked bright and all of that. But that was a tough recovery for me because I got really bad black eyes. My eyes were kind of swollen shut a little bit at the time. And again, it was just very uncomfortable. Looking back on it now, I'm like, it wasn't that bad. But when I was going through it, it was pretty intolerable for a few days.
So the lip lift, if I wanted to do that, is it just so it shows teeth more? Like, what is the goal of a lip lift? Because I'm thinking because your lip gets gravity, like, I'm not going to say it right, gravity, and it like falls down and covers your teeth and you almost want to pull it up. Is that what it is for?
Yeah. So the reason that I did that, now I'm sounding like a total surgery addict, but everything.
You're not. You're sounding like you're telling the truth about what's going on behind the scenes of so many things. And I think it's great because we only see bad filler and bad plastic surgery, and you look amazing.
Thank you. So yeah, going back to when I started, like when I was doing Botox, I also started doing filler, and I did filler in my lips. And this is at the time when like big lips were really in. It was like kind of around when Kylie Jenner was doing her lip injections at first. And I was filling to the point where when I look back on photos now, I had that Marge Simpson thing going on. So my top lip was so heavy because what I wanted to happen, I had very thin lips and I had a long philtrum, which is the space between the bottom of your nose and the top of your top lip. And that makes you also look a little bit older. So I had a long philtrum, thin lip, and I wanted that pouty look. So I was filling the upper lip, filling kind of around my nasal labial folds to try to lift it, putting Botox under my nose, doing all these things to try to get the lift. And when I look back now, it looks so heavy. You know, my face kind of looks really weighed down. So the lip lift is when they cut right below your nose and they cut into the muscle. And they kind of do it in almost a bullhorn shape a little bit, is what it's called. So around the outer part of the nostril into the middle. And they lift it up, and that essentially just lifts the top of your lip up. So you get the shape that you want. And that might, I don't know. I feel like it's hard to pick a favorite procedure. That's another one that made such a big difference on me. And when you see it done on especially older people who start to have that long upper lip that we get with age, it really can make such a huge difference in making your face look youthful. But the downside of it is that it's the middle of your face. So no matter what, you're going to have a scar. I mean, it can be pencil thin, but if you don't go to somebody who's really, really good, I mean, I've seen cases that have been totally botched. You know, people have gone to doctors who don't really know what they're doing. And to have a scar right there in the middle of your face is devastating, you know, for some people.
I have seen a bad lip lift and I've seen yours that looks really, really good, but I've seen one that is not looking good and it is a huge scar. So what you just said is really important to do your own research.
Yeah.
Do you think one of the reasons that you're so open about all this has to do with recovery? Like, do you feel like they go hand in hand? Do you feel like you're so honest with everything? I mean, you're refreshingly honest. Do you think it has to do with everything that you've gone through with recovery?
That's an interesting perspective. I've never really thought about it that way. I think I did make a decision once I got sober to be an open book, you know, about everything in my life, the struggles and the triumphs and everything that I've gone through. And especially when I started my Instagram, it started as like a fitness account. And then it turned into sharing what I was going through, whether it was with my physical health, my mental health, my recovery. And so when I started doing these things, it was just kind of a natural progression where I felt like I don't want somebody who's saving up all of their money to go put threads in their face, expecting that it's going to make this huge difference because people are saying that Bella Hadid did it, and then be disappointed and go through that and go through all of that and not have a result. So with recovery, I learned to try to be of service in everything that I do. And I mean, it sounds kind of like silly to be like, I'm being of service by talking about plastic surgery. But if I can help anyone not make a terrible decision or make a good decision when it comes to this stuff, then I'm happy with that.
I think it's great. What is the biggest difference? And this could be a product. What's a product that made a big difference in your skin? Something that you constantly reach for. Could be like a vitamin C, could be microneedling, anything that you just have noticed that makes your skin glowy and youthful.
Well, one of the things that I did that was a complete game changer for my skin was I stopped using moisturizer. So that's not really a product, but for years I was having like breakouts and I had really enlarged pores, and everything that I was using, it just wasn't getting better. And finally, the person that I work with, Jen Hollander, shout out, she's a good friend of mine. And she also is kind of like my skin go-to person. She has the same kind of skin as me. And she was like, you need to stop with the moisturizer. And, you know, different people have different philosophies. Some people say if you have oily skin, use oil. And I totally get that. But for me, like oils and moisturizers were not working. And so we kind of detoxed my skin from moisturizer and switched over to serums. And it was like night and day. So the serums that I use, there's one by Zoe, by Obagi, Z-O. They make a growth factor serum. I can't remember if I talked about it on your other show. You did
talk about it. I'm Googling it right now. I'm writing it down. Go ahead and tell the audience.
It's like silk for your skin. It's the most like just decadent serum. I love it so much. It really helps with moisturizing and it helps with fine lines, aging, all of that. Additionally, I would have to say tretinoin or some kind of, I don't know if it's retinoid or retinol, but I use tretinoin. I use Alpha-Ret by Skin Better, which is like it's a retinol, but it's not as irritating as just straight tretinoin can be. But I feel like you get to a certain age where that's kind of a non-negotiable because it really helps with the firmness and elasticity of your skin, fine lines, the tone, everything.
Can you walk us through your makeup routine? And if you could tell us like what you apply to your skin maybe before you start your makeup, that would be great too.
Okay, so it kind of changes like in terms of what I do for prep. But right now, I just wash my face with Zoe exfoliating cleanser.
You love this brand. I need to look at this brand.
I love it. I know. Okay. Like they need to sponsor me.
Sponsor her, Zoe.
Obagi, if you're listening. So I do that cleanser. And then they have a daily power defense serum, which is for like free radicals. And I do like to use vitamin C. I like Summer Fridays. I like the, SkinCeuticals CF Silmarin.
That's my favorite.
But lately, I mean, my skin right now is worse than it's ever been. I just started having like crazy breakouts and dryness. So I had to kind of scale back on all of the actives and everything.
That makes sense.
So I'm keeping it really simple. So I like to usually just cleanse, do a serum. I'll do usually Alta MD SPF.
I love that one.
Yeah, so good. And then I do Laura Mercier tinted moisturizer, which people say, I thought you didn't do moisturizer. I use the oil-free one, and it's just kind of like a really light like sunscreen. So I like to do that
Don't
one.
fuck up or the internet will call you out.
I know. I was like, oh, okay. It's not technically moisturizer. Yikes. And then Laura Mercier concealer, just wherever I need it, if I have spots or any of that. Then I do Hourglass bronzer, just like under the cheekbones, a little on my temples. And I like to do Hourglass blush. And that's it. Keep it really simple. And then I'll do mascara. And I always use Sephora Sinker Suede lip liner. It's like matches my lips exactly.
I need to look at it. I keep hearing Pillow Talk. I think I'm bored with that. So I need
I
a
don't
new
know
one.
that one.
Yeah, everyone talks about
Lip
Pillow
liner?
Talk. Yeah, Pillow Talk lip liner.
Oh.
You have to try it and tell
I'm
me
gonna
which
try that
one's
one.
better because everyone
will.
talks about Pillow Talk, but I feel like it's been done. How important is it to you to get the fuck out of the sun? Now, I want to preface this with saying that a lot of people that came in my book said they love the sun. And I left all that in. If you love the sun, you love the sun, and that's what works. So if you are not someone who likes to get the fuck out of the sun, for sure, call it out.
So this morning, before working on this podcast, I had a FaceTime date with my friend Ingrid, and we were on the phone. And of course, I pulled out my huge Ivy mug. It's like the biggest mug. It's bigger than my head. And I made a huge heaping hot cup of ginger peak tea. Their ginger digestion tea is the best. I will never go back to another tea. There's multiple reasons why, but one of the reasons is there's nothing worse than tea bags. all different kinds of tea bags, okay? We don't want to be tea bagged. Tea bags have all those nasty like plastics and fibers and all this shit that gets into the tea you're drinking. Peak Tea does not have a tea bag. It's this tiny thin packet that I can put in my wallet, which I do all the time. I open it,